Adiel Gorel has helped thousands secure their retirement riches. Even the great Warren Buffett wrote him needing to know more. The answers are all here for you. Welcome to the Remote Control Retirement Riches Show.
Assuming that there are at least some people who have never heard me speak before, I would like to start with the basics. So we all have been looking to buy real estate, invest in real estate. We have all been reading books and going to lectures and boot camps and seminars and learning and flipping. And well, I personally have been doing it for 38 years, and I believe right now, and have been for decades, that the best way for the individual investor to build a very powerful financial future is to buy single-family rental homes. And one of the reasons for that is that single-family homes are still the American dream. Yes, in places like Silicon Valley or Los Angeles, New York City, that dream is not particularly attainable, but in many parts of the country, that dream is alive and well. And even today, with the post-pandemic or the still through the pandemic, price increases, very affordable for lots of people. Single-family home is what everybody wants, the dream about a home with a yard, especially today, room for home office, right? And a yard in case we get locked down with the next virus. So single-family homes. Now, I like to look at the Sun Belt states. These are the states where the sun shines. Not quite exactly, but states like Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. I don't invest in the North. The reason for that is the demographic trends in the US, which you can see very clearly if you study the census. And the demographic trend is strongest to the Sun Belt states. It comes from many reasons. One of them is the large baby boomer group who seek to retire soon, or maybe they already have. They want to be in the sun. They don't want to be in the cold of the winters. There's also, these states are very pro-business, so many younger people and businesses are going there. Lots of reason to choose the Sun Belt states. So Sun Belt states, large metropolitan areas. They don't have to be huge metropolitan areas, but large enough to get job diversity and industry diversity. I have always liked to buy in the suburbs where there are families with kids and it's very stable. The pandemic made the suburbs the darling of the US economy, but the suburbs were my darling decades now. And then I learned over the years, I started out as a cash flow cowboy just like everyone else, thinking that if I buy not such good homes in not such good areas, in not such good cities, on paper I'll have the better cash flow. Well, I discovered that life doesn't really happen on paper. If you buy properties that are not particularly good, it may look good on paper for cash flow, but after the second smuggler kills the third drug dealer, it doesn't look so good anymore necessarily, and the numbers were only on paper. So we like to buy brand new homes in good area. There are many reasons to buy brand new homes. In fact, I wrote an article for Linda for the Realty 411 magazine, the benefits of buying brand new homes. But just in a couple of words, brand new homes, obviously, everything is new. The roof, the air condition, the water heater, the carpet, well, everything is brand new. Under builder's warranty, the pieces like, the air conditioning is under manufacturer's warranty. Buying a brand new home is a great way to start easy and well and safely for quite a bit of time. There are likely not to be too many repairs, and if there are, many of the parts of the house are under warranty. Brand new homes are very popular. There were periods during COVID that many tenants preferred moving into a brand new home because nobody lived there before, and that, of course, felt safer. I do not have slides for this presentation. I'm just going to share my information with you. I just got a question, and I would be very happy to send anyone 5 magazine articles that I wrote, which lay out my philosophy, very readable and very simple. A link to a television show that I was invited to do in 2018 for PBS, for public television, ran many hundreds of times throughout the country, including here in Silicon Valley on KQED, hundreds of times. Be happy to send you a link and many other bits of information as you want. If you want to get this information, just send me an email at info@icgre.com. info@icgre.com. In any case, we like to buy brand new homes. We like to buy them in the suburbs. And then there is the pièce de résistance, something that many, many people don't really fully think about, but Warren Buffett does. And there's actually, an article I can send you in Entrepreneur magazine that was out recently about Warren Buffett's best advice to become rich. And one of them is get the 30-year fixed rate loan. And actually in that article, they talk about my interaction with Warren Buffett. And he's one person, very smart, very wealthy, who actually thought about what it means to get a 30-year fixed rate loan. But for those of you that may not have thought about it, for those of you that think, 30-year loan, what's the big deal here? We can get those loans. Well, when I speak in Europe and I tell them, my Americans can get a loan called 30 years fixed. And my Europeans go, what? No, you're wrong. It can't happen. It cannot happen, and we'll prove to you that it's impossible just using straight logic. You live in a country with inflation. There's always inflation. 30 years ago, you bought a postage stamp for 4 cents. Now it's 55 cents. 30 years ago, you went to the movies in New York City for $2. Now it's $16, when you can go, that is. And if you go to Whole Foods right now and buy a beautiful organic avocado, it's going to be $2.25. You know, we know, everybody knows that in a decade, it's probably going to be $4. You want to tell us that in this environment, somebody's going to give you a loan where the monthly payment will never ever change, and also the loan balance, which keeps going down with amortization, principal payments, also doesn't keep up with inflation? If that were to be true, we would consider this to be the biggest financial gift in the world. I concur 100%. Warren Buffett thinks like that as well. We can get the crazy loan called 30 years fixed in an environment of inflation, especially now, where inflation is starting to really ramp up. Inflation decimates the middle class, decimates the people who earn below the middle class. So it's kind of funny that some administrations say, oh, we want to help the middle class and below. Inflation absolutely devastates their buying power, devastates their life. Who does inflation benefit? People who own single-family homes on which they got 30 years fixed rate loans. Now, the amazing miracle of a loan can only be given on 1 to 4 residential units. So for the people who say, well, I bought 2 homes, now I want to go to apartment complexes. And of course, they always like to start small. I'll buy a 10 unit. Oh, really? We'll talk about that in a second. But the minute you go to 5 units and above, there is no more 30-year fixed rate loan. So that's why some people say, oh, I'll start at Real Estate 101. I'll buy single-family homes. And then I'll graduate to Real Estate 201. I'll buy small apartment. I never graduated. Well, I've bought about 25 apartment complexes. In my history, I bought land, but I always got back to Real Estate 101. Single-family homes, they will change your future enormously. So here is what it looks like. I was in a party in Santa Clara about 3 years ago, and all of a sudden this guy gets up and gives me a hug. I say, what was that for? He says, well, I'm one of your investors. I bought homes with you in my 40s. I started with one just to see how it works. It worked very well. It was a new home. I bought another one. I was putting only 10% down with PMI. Back then, you could do it. Back then, Fannie Mae let you do that. And so I ended up buying 19 homes, he says. Well, Last year I was 55 years old. I looked at my homes, and every one of my homes had a loan with 17 years left to go. In other words, not even halfway through the 30 years. But I couldn't help but notice that my mortgage balances were only about 26% of the value of the home. That's what inflation does to the fixed rate loan. Inflation becomes your best friend, your BFF. It constantly erodes the true value of your loan. So he said, I noticed that my loans were only 26% of the value of the homes. I decided to sell 4 of my homes. I paid capital gains, used the remaining proceeds to pay off the other remaining 15 little tiny loans. And with 15 free and clear homes, I don't have to work anymore. I retired from my Silicon Valley job, and that's why I'm giving you a hug. I have thousands of stories like these to tell. Thousands. Single family homes, brand new in the suburbs, large metro areas, Sunbelt states. Take the 30-year fixed rate loan. Today, Fannie Mae enables you to put a minimum of 15% down with PMI or 20% down without PMI. Most people choose to put 20% down, get the unbelievable gift called the 30-year fixed rate loan. Let a property manager rent the property out for you. I'll talk about that in a second. And then proceed to do the hardest action for a human being to do. Nothing. Just let time go by. So normally I say this will completely change your life in 12, 14, maybe 15 years. Today, with still very low interest rates, some of the lowest rates in the history of all time. I know they went up recently, but they're still unbelievably low in a historical perspective. Still low and heading into a higher inflation, already much higher than it was a year ago. Music to my ears for you and for your future. I don't just talk about retirement. It's the same thing if you want to send your kid to college. I used to say, if you want to send your kid to college, you have a 1-year-old, you buy a home like this, you get a 30-year fixed rate loan. You don't even have to pay the loan off in 17 years when the kid gets to be 18 years old. Inflation will take care of making it look like a big joke or like a small joke, really. When the kid gets to college age, then you can sell the home, pay capital gains, or refinance the home and send your kid to college. Sometimes when I want to make a silly joke, I say, if you want to send your kid to Harvard with a Porsche, buy 2 houses. And everybody laughs at my silly joke. Well, turns out I was completely wrong on that silly joke. I have a 17-year-old junior in high school boy who wants to go to Stanford like his dad. And I'm an alum, and he's a very good student. He may be accepted. I'm not going to get any financial help. Not 2, just 1 of the homes I bought will send him to 4 years at Stanford, room, board, and tuition, and leave money for a Porsche. Not that I'm buying him a Porsche. That would make me a bad dad. He has a 2008 Toyota with a lot of miles on it. That's what you buy, a young person. But anyway, these things are future changers. And I'm telling you, I've been through the boot camps and I've been through the flipping and the flopping and the flip-flopping and all the tricks, and I heard the sophisticated people say, and then I bought a chicken coop and I did an exchange into the 2 chicken coop. Just single family homes, brand new, so easy to buy. Many of you are in Silicon Valley. This event is in Silicon Valley. You're busy. Buying brand new homes, so easy. Just like buying a home here in Silicon Valley, everything is the same. You just sign the papers here. You don't have to fly there to sign it. Now, I started this thing in the 1980s when I was in Silicon Valley. I taught at Stanford, then I got my first job at HP Labs. And when I got my job at HP Labs, I thought I was being very highly paid. They paid me a lot more than Stanford. So I was very happy with that. And I looked at my colleagues and said, wow, they must be really wealthy. Some of them have been working there for 30 years, getting paid so well, they must be really, really wealthy. But they weren't. They just owned their home and a 401k. I said, I'm not going to look like that. Started buying rental homes. I discovered the unbelievable fact about 30-year fixed rate loan in this country, which, by the way, to the best of my knowledge, this is the only country in the world that they give you this miracle loan. My mind was blown, and I said, that's it. I started buying single-family homes. I bought in Sunnyvale, I bought in San Jose. It was in the 1980s. Back then, people said, never buy more than 30 minutes drive away from where you live. And I followed that rule just like everyone else. But very quickly I realized that the numbers in Silicon Valley were not friendly. They never were. They're not friendly now. The prices and all the numbers were much lower in the 1980s, obviously, but the ratio between rents and prices were very bad. So even in the 1980s, the rents were too low. So I said, who made up this rule that you don't buy within 30 minutes drive, but that you have to buy within 30 minutes drive of where you live? What is this for? I was busy anyway. I was working at HP, I was very busy. I hired a manager even to manage my homes in Silicon Valley. So I said, what is it for? Do I have to give the house a goodnight kiss at night? And you can't even do that, because that would mean encroaching on your tenant's yard. You can't do that. So I did a little research. Back then I didn't have the web. And Sergey Brin and Larry Page were in kindergarten, I think. But I still had connections with Stanford where I was continuing my research, and I had access to the ARPANET. Yeah, the ARPANET. So I did a little research and I saw that if I flew about an hour and a half to a smaller city, the name of that city was Las Vegas. And so I started going to Vegas, and I discovered very quickly in Vegas I could find homes that cost a quarter of the Silicon Valley price, but they rented closer to a half of the Silicon Valley rent. So the ratios were so much better. I started flying to Vegas every weekend. Took me some time. I always looked younger than my age. Back then I looked like a boy. People were skeptical. But after a few months I had a property management firm that I liked. Thanks for joining me today. Click the subscribe button for more video on real estate. Got a question or comment? I love questions and comments. Leave yours below. And here's another video you've got to see.